Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Shantia here. So today I'm going to be doing a review for Married at First Sight, episode 9, season 13. So the theme of this episode was love. And I think the broader message that I wanted to share in response to this episode was the importance of surrender. Now, I know a lot of these couples joined Married at First Sight probably because they struggled with surrender, and that's why they needed these experts to find them a marriage right now, as opposed to, kind of trusting that they would be able to find someone along the way. So it's not really a surprise when people are having issues with really letting go. But let's go ahead and talk about love. Now, obviously, I think it's really too soon. I don't know if they're 2 to 3 weeks in. I think it's a little bit more than 2 weeks in. But I think they're about 3 weeks in. About 3 weeks into this experiment, they're still getting to know one another and question things. I'm really liking the group of people this year because I feel so genuinely that they want to make it work. Where they're struggling is with the chemistry. Whether the sparks fly or there's chemistry, sparks flying seems to be a consistent theme with the men, especially. They really want that love. And here's the thing that we have to remember, yes, men look to the physical attraction to decide, that's someone I'm interested in, but they also want to be in love, and probably even more than women. Women are love. Women are those romantic feelings. It's where a man gets to be in touch with those feminine, I don't know if you want to call it feminine, but those just their emotions in general. And so it feels good to be able to share your emotions and be in love with someone. And I feel like for men, being in a relationship allows them to do that. So of course they're looking forward to it, and we really probably need to give them more credit and acknowledge them in the sense that they are looking for real love. They're looking for a real connection. And I really feel that from all the men this season. They're looking for real love, real connection. So let's go ahead and start off with Mirla and Gil, because I feel like this is the couple who probably has the least love connection. Now, they don't have a terrible connection. All the couples, I think, really they like each other. They care for one another. And so I'm getting that sort of friendship vibe with Mirla and Gil. But I think we're starting to see that Gil's starting to feel like Mirla's not putting forth. I feel like he's been approaching everything kind of realistically. Sometimes I think the men do get a little bit impatient. Not even the men, the women too. Someone will get impatient in the relationship, and they'll be like, well, why aren't you having feelings for me? Why aren't you loving me? Why aren't you caring for me? Why aren't you interested? Why aren't you attracted? And they'll start to get really discouraged. So I feel like Gil is just being realistic, because he's not, unrealistically investing all of his interest or love into Mirla, because he's kind of but he's just kind of measuring what feels most natural to give, or to kind of hold back a little, or to be a little bit more patient or slow and steady. And he's having those conversations with Mirla. And I feel like he's the one doing the homework in the partnership and in the relationship. I just feel like with Mirla, she may be really slow to the romance, and she might be one of those people, kind of like Karen and Miles. I combined their name. Karen and Miles, we're all like, Karen, what are you doing, Karen? But Karen and Miles are still together, and they're in love. So, it might be one of those cases where it just really takes her a while. But the issue with Mirla is that she's so nitpicky about everything. And she even complains about the small things. And this is where materialism can really become concerning in regards to anyone, because when you make materialism such a huge part of your life, like she says she's motivated by money. She said that. When you make materialism a huge part of your life, you start to lose sight of the things that really matter. Gil getting her that, the rubber ring, and doing little things and trying to give her a massage. And she did say in Unfiltered that she wanted to watch the sunset, but he didn't want to watch the sunset. So he ended up giving her a foot massage that she wasn't interested in. With the women, it's going to be kind of a consistent feedback. This is your moment to be romantic. You know, this is your moment to tap into your femininity, create that connection and create the sparks with your partner. I honestly don't feel like, as women, I feel like it's easy for men to fall in love with women. I feel like it's easy for men to fall in love with us in general because we are love, like we are romance. We're all of those things. And so if you really wanted someone to like feel those feelings for you, all you would have to do is settle into your feminine energy and own it. And you can make anyone fall in love. The issue with Western culture is women have become so masculine. It's become a part of the norm of the culture for them to have to do so much for themselves that when a partner does show up in their lives, they almost don't know how to like reciprocate the love or receive it. Like it's just a switch, you know? And it's not even just like men in general, or not men, your romantic partner. I feel like it's in general, when you tap into that feminine energy, it's easy for people to fall in love with you, period. And Mirla, there's things that she does that I'm like, oh, she has this cuteness to her. But there is like a block. There's a wall there. In the previous review, I talked about how she struggles, I think, with vulnerability with men. I think she struggles to tap into that vulnerability or that femininity within herself, to open herself up to feel that way about someone, to feel feminine, to feel in love. Right now, I see that she's putting a wall up, and that's probably like my only feedback for her is like she's just putting up a wall up. She may be the type of person who, like, when she really falls, it's super genuine, she really cares about them, and all of these beautiful things show up. But right now, she definitely has a wall up, and if you're on Married at First Sight, I feel like the first thing you should be willing to do is let that wall down and just put yourself out there. When a woman, like, has the ability to make a man fall in love with her, or feel, not even fall in love, just feel something for her. And this is kind of what I think a lot of the women are struggling with this season. So it's going to be a consistent theme. It's getting that gut level reaction, as Mina, the universe guru, calls it, getting that gut level reaction from men. Like men just wanting to open the door for you, men just wanting to take care of you, making sure you're okay. You don't have to act like this, like, oh, I'm so incapable, please help me. It's like, no, just be woman. Just be woman, and they will just show up into your experience. Are you okay? Are you safe? How are you doing? Like, and not just romantic partners, like people all across the board will show up for you if you're willing to just be woman. That's it. Okay, so moving on to Brett and Ryan. Kind of the same issue here as well. So with Brett, again, I'm kind of she's not getting that gut level reaction from Ryan, because I have a feeling she's really in her head. So Ryan said that all they do is talk, right? They have no issues with talking. They talk a lot, but he's not feeling the sparks or the attraction. Men don't fall in love with you through, so I think we can kind of conclude, men don't fall in love with you through talking. It's a feeling. They fall in love with you through the emotions, how you make them feel. And the way that you're gonna make someone fall in love with you or feel that way about you, feel those romantic feelings towards you, is you need to love yourself. You need to be in love with life, in love with yourself, and you won't have any issues getting someone to develop those feelings for you a bit quicker. So I have a feeling that this is where Brett is kind of struggling with, because I think, again, Ryan, he probably just automatically goes to that like very feminine woman who's emanating it. Not saying that Brett isn't feminine, but he probably is used to being around a certain kind of feminine energy where women just naturally emanate it, and he's attracted to it like a bee to nectar. A bee to nectar. So my other feedback for Ryan would be this idea of stop trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it work. I want the sparks to fly. Relax. My recommendation is, if you're struggling at any point in your relationship, stop trying. This is where the surrender is important. Stop trying so hard to make things work. Stop trying so hard. It's that trying hard. I've seen people who are in beautiful, wonderful, healthy relationships, but the minute they have time to start thinking and overanalyzing their relationship, they start self-sabotaging. What? They start self-sabotaging because they're overanalyzing, trying to be like, I want this, I want that, I'm like, You're fine. Your relationship is fine. It's not going to be everything and then some every day. Let it flow. Let it fluctuate. Let it be what it's going to be at this point and at that point and at this point. Let it change. Let it fluctuate. Let it flow. So my recommendation to Ryan, if I was Ryan, I would just stop trying. I would stop trying to create the sparks. I would just be like, okay, you know, let's start at the basics. Let me just get to know you. Or let me get to know, how can I be more romantic or create more romance in my relationship? Maybe I can try something different, try something new. Just stop trying though. Stop trying so hard. Let it go. Just do what feels natural. I think that's the only thing I had to say about them. So let's go ahead and talk about Michaela and Zach. So it's kind of the same thing. Zach was essentially turned off from Michaela's overreacting. The issue here is Michaela isn't yet taken full accountability. So she pointed out specifically, she's like, what was the cause, Zach? What was the cause of me blowing up or getting to that point? It doesn't matter what someone does, says, what the trigger is. It doesn't even matter. Your responsibility is to note your trigger, communicate your trigger, and surrender. Which means just because he does it again, it doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm going to give you the exact same reaction. Be bigger than that. Be more mature than that. Your reaction, your emotions is your responsibility. This is your journey to heal from. So she acknowledged that she wasn't right and that she overreacted, but she still said he was part of the equation. He has absolutely nothing to do. He is absolutely, you barely know. He has nothing to do with it. If it was another guy, you would have reacted the same. It's not the fact that he did something. It's the fact that anyone who would do something that you feel vulnerable towards, you're triggered. So if Michaela can take true accountability, then they have a chance. But Zach, I'm noticing he's very smart and he's picking up on the possibility that she's rolling her eyes, she's making these reactions, she doesn't quite have the emotional maturity, even though she's like, we're in a relationship, and you know, again, she articulates everything so beautifully, but the emotional maturity is just not there. The emotional awareness, the self-awareness, that level of self-awareness needed to help a relationship thrive, especially with the amount of healing that she needs to do, is just not there. So what's going to continue to happen is they're going to continue to struggle with that. I think Zach is handling it as best as he can. He does kind of put his foot in his mouth sometimes when he's communicating to her, you know, talking about how he was turned off and this. She doesn't need to know every single thing. I don't think if you're turned off, I don't think you should go up to your spouse, your partner, and be like, that thing super turned me off. It just I think Zach, in that sense, he can come off as a little naive, because I'm just like, there are just certain things I would not say, or I wouldn't communicate it exactly like that. You know, I would kind of be a little bit more gentle. This is a potential future partner. You want to treat them with utmost respect, and where his lack of maturity is knowing how to, you can be honest. Just watch it a little bit, because this is your partner, right? You want to communicate with them. You want to be as honest. Now, I love it when people are like, oh, I want to be so honest. But I'm like, I'm not going to be so honest to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I hated when you did this, and I hated when you did, I did just like that, and that ticked me off, and that. Like, it's not my job to give them a list of all the things I don't like about them, right? And that turns me off about them, you know, because a lot of the times those issues, the things that we have issues with, is more of our problem than it is their problem. And so he's being very intellectual. He's very he's being very logical about the whole thing. And here's the thing again about the gut level reaction. When men lose the attraction, lose the romantic feelings, they become very logical, and it starts to become like a transaction. So now you're business partners. You're not love romantic partners anymore. Now you're business partners. Now Zach is negotiating in his relationship what is and will not work, what his likes and dislikes are. And I just, I think for his feedback is like to watch for how he communicates about certain things, because obviously we can see Michaela just doesn't agree with, when he was talking about the bee. Yeah, he was talking about the bee. Maybe that's why I brought up the bee. He was talking about the bee and reading a book. I thought that was actually a really good analogy. And I thought Michaela's reaction to it was very immature, but he was trying to make a point. The thing is, Zach is a poet. He's a poet, he's creative, he's a Renaissance man. And the thing is, if Michaela doesn't get with that, that's going to be problematic. Let's go ahead and talk about Jose and Rachel. So Jose and Rachel are doing really good. They're doing really good. So one of the issues that came up was that Jose doesn't listen. He likes to talk, and as I noted before, he's a bit of a control freak, and he doesn't really listen. Now, why are Rachel and Jose still able to fall in love, even while admitting that they both have disagreements about certain things? Why is it that they're still able to fall in love as opposed to all these other couples who are struggling? It's because in spite of that, they have polarity. They're attracted to each other on all levels. They like being around each other. They like hanging around each other. They're enjoying each other's company. That's marriage. It's about, okay, we have these disagreements. We have these things that we don't care for. We're trying to work through them. We're both very aware that these are our issues, but I still care about you. You have my heart. So when you let the heart be the forefront of what brings you together. Now, I'm not saying that love is everything. I'm just saying when you let it drive your relationship, you're going to be happy, because you're letting the love, the happiness, the joy, the romance direct your relationship. That's the kind of surrender I'm talking about. Love is surrender. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and just be like, let's just be together. Let's just enjoy each other. That's surrender. I don't agree about finances with you, but I like you so much and care about you so much, I'm going to choose you. That's surrender. So they both acknowledge that they have disagreements. They both they've been vocal about, what those disagreements are. They don't shy away from them. You don't shy away from them. You don't repress them, but they're enjoying each other. That's why people get married. You don't get married because of all of these responsibilities. You get married because you just want someone to share life with. They get it. They get it. So Rachel brought up the infidelity. Jose spoke his concerns, but as we can see, they both told each other they love each other. During Unfiltered, Rachel was asked, did she believe that his response was genuine when she said it? And I loved Rachel's response. She said, I'm not going to even overthink it. She's like, his actions show. His actions show. And I'm not going to even overthink it. I'm going to just accept it as it is. That's surrender. When we get in here, we self-sabotage and we tear apart ourselves and our relationships. And that's something that Johnny is, in the previous episode was struggling with. You can see he tried to shift his perspective and see things differently. And that allowed him to just kind of experience the sparks. So the thing about men and not listening, so I think this is really interesting. I think that is pretty consistent. I think a lot of men don't listen. When they do, it's kind of surprising. I'm not gonna lie. I have met people who do listen and I'm just like, oh, you listen? And yes, I think Rachel is absolutely great for calling Jose out on that. Being a man should not be a cop-out for you not listening, but men tend to not listen. And I think one thing I think is a really good reminder is that men are the alpha. They are the alpha in the relationship. You want them to be the alpha. That's attractive, right? We want them to be the alpha. We find that attractive. We want them to be the head of the household. We find that attractive. That's a turn on, right? What do alphas do? They lead the pack. They will consult, right? But then they lead the pack. So they're not always going to be like, well, I need to first hear what you have to say before I do this. They're not always going to be like that, right? So I think a man not listening, have it like, that's nothing new, but it's how you handle it. It's like, does he listen about the important things? And by the end of the day, again, surrender. If he's doing what he needs to do, like Rachel said, when she after their get together at Jose's house, she was tired and she took a nap, and she said she was going to clean up later. But when she woke up, everything was cleaned and she was so happy. And that's when she told Jose that she loved him. And then he said it back. And he said it took him a minute, but he did say it back. If he's doing what needs to be done, if he's still that partner, and he's holding to his responsibilities, not only that, he cares about you, he really loves you, and he's showing that, then that's what matters the most. If he listens or not, that might be an idealistic thing that we might be asking for and wanting in a relationship and from a partner, and we may not always get that. We want them to listen to the things that are most important, but they may not listen to everything. I know I'm not. Honestly, I'm a daydreamer, and I'm very in my head sometimes, and I'm always thinking about things, and so I space out a lot because I just go somewhere else when people are talking. It happens all the time, but I try to like come back and like hear and listen about the important things, and then, you know, whenever someone like really needs me to listen, I try to be there. But I'm definitely guilty of being someone who doesn't listen all the time. Okay, so our last couple, Bao and Johnny. So Bao and Johnny, I think at the beginning of the episode, they had a bit of a disagreement about, I guess where they were at. Again, they're very like in their heads about everything. But what I like about Bao and Johnny is they don't shy away from the hard discussions. Now, obviously, here's the thing. Having those hard discussions is very important in a relationship, but you guys are going to drain each other. You're going to drain each other. Like, you're going to be like, do I even want to be with this person anymore? Try to feel out whether you need to have these discussions all the time. Now, I know this is Married at First Sight. It accelerates everything. So it's a very intense situation. I'm getting that vibe from Brett and Ryan too. Like, it feels very intense for them. For them to have to like delve into all of these layers of vulnerability and love and creating the romance and finding the sparks and all that. And I'm definitely seeing that from Johnny, because Johnny's very emotional. He's very emotional, and he just feels everything. So my feedback for Bao would be to kind of back off a little bit more on those discussions and stop being so mothering him in that sense. Like, let's have this discussion, because Johnny, he wants a partner, not a mothering wife. He wants a partner. And sometimes Bao comes off as a mothering wife, which you're not there to mother your husband. Like that, again, that's where you kind of lose the spark and the attraction. That's not a turn on for him. He's not turned on by that. So you kind of gotta let him like, hey, I really care about you. And again, she did it, but I'm just saying, in that initial scene, even I'm kind of feeling exhausted from all of these intense discussions that Bao and Johnny are having. But I guess it needs to be had. So moving on, they had the love questions from the experts, and they handled that very well. They're always so vulnerable and honest, and I appreciate that so much on this show, because I think a lot of people they come on this show and they tend to be more reserved. And I feel like Bao and Johnny, honesty is so important to them. They just put it all out there. So I really appreciate them putting their vulnerabilities out there, and sparks started to fly, right? The romance started to kick off, and I'm really happy for them in that sense. That Bao, she said she's pretty comfortable with the physical aspect of getting into a relationship. I think she just likes to be, and this is probably what has prevented her from finding a partner before, is she starts to be too much of a perfectionist about how they're supposed to live their life. And what, all of those things entail. I'm so happy that, they consummated their marriage, and they're both very happy with that. And They both seem very comfortable with their physical intimacy, so I'm really happy for them. The issue came up again about sparks flying and Johnny noticing that Bao is definitely a perfectionist and tries too hard to make it. Like, she literally said that I want to make him the perfect dinner. I don't want him to eat dog food. So this is just something for Bao to watch for. Perfectionism isn't attractive when it comes to any aspect of life because we're extremely flawed beings. When I say extremely, like, perfect isn't possible. It isn't possible. Now, in Bao's mind, perfect is possible, and that's why she tries to obtain it, right? Spreadsheets, making the perfect bread recipe, all of these things, painting things the perfect way. So perfectionism in her mind exists, and I think this is also just a symptom of being a part of Asian culture, I would have to say. Because Asian culture is very much rigid in the sense that there are expectations that the parents put on their kids to succeed and thrive. And I definitely get the sense, like, that perfectionism from both Bao and Johnny in a sense, but Johnny is much more fluid in how he expresses himself, whereas Bao, she's fluid in a way, but it's hidden. It's important for her to appear a certain way and to sound a certain way, and so therefore that's why she strives for perfectionism. But that's actually very exhausting for men because, again, men are kind of looking for a partner where they can be themselves, where they can be vulnerable. And so if they're put with a partner who is about perfectionism, they're going to feel less likely to want to be vulnerable because that's not what's going to create the romance for them. They want to be flawed. They want to come home and be like, I'm an imperfect being and you still love me. And I really get that vibe and the look in the eyes when I see Johnny when Bao's talking. Like, he's just kind of concerned, and that's what the red flag probably is to him, because he said there are red flags. Is, is she gonna expect me to be perfect because I'm not, kind of deal. And then again, I would encourage Johnny, because the second red flags or flags start showing up, he starts getting skittish, he starts feeling a little bit more unsure and really tense, is just stop trying. Maybe your wife is going to be a perfectionist. Now, I have to say this when it comes to all the couples, for all the couples, your partner may just be who they are, right? But it's the heart. It's their heart. It's that thing that you want. Okay, my recording stopped. Yeah, so you want to make sure they hold up their responsibilities as a human and that they have a good heart. So if you let that drive the relationship, you're going to be fine. But I know sometimes it takes a lot for people to surrender into that experience of just accepting people for how they are and who they are. Again, I feel like with Johnny and Ryan, they were both trying so hard to, like, I want sparks to fly. I want to feel those emotions. Just stop trying, right? Stop trying, relax into it. And then, sparks are going to fly. Things are going to happen. It's just a part of, it's just a chemistry, honestly. I honestly think being around someone for so long and really getting to know them on a deeper level, I don't think it's hard to really like or create chemistry with anyone. I think the issue just lies with deciding if you want to. Do you want to be vulnerable, right? Do you want to fall in love? Do you want to be in love? Because I'm pretty sure that Rachel and Jose decided that they did. It wasn't like, oh, I can't stop this feeling. No, it's like, no, I want to love this person. I can see them as a father. I can see them as a mother of my child. I can see a future with them. Therefore, I want to be in love. Okay, so that is my review for the episode 9 for Married at First Sight. Make sure you guys tune in for more reviews from me. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment down below if you're interested in doing that. I'll appreciate you doing that. And also, this channel is dedicated to helping women live in a way that feels the most natural and aligned for themselves. I'm a huge advocate of that. I don't believe that there's one way of living life. I think women, especially, what I really am trying to advocate for is, like, own your desires. What do you want? I used to think at some point, like, having desires was bad. And so I would try to, like, rid myself of desires. Like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, this is dramatic. In my head, I'm like, I'm gonna be a monk and just, like, meditate in the mountains and just, like, release all desires. But I had to come back to this place where I was just totally accepting of my desires, because this is where I'm at in my life. Is I want to build things, I want to create things, I want to create a certain kind of life for myself. So that's what I feel so called to do. And so as a woman to another woman out there, it's like, what do you feel called to do? What desire is calling to your heart? Allow yourself to follow that, pursue that, and you'll be exactly where you need to be. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day or evening. Bye.